right, welcome back to another SDR Confessions, and you know how this goes every single time. We introduce the guest, and then we hop into the confession. So, Brian, tell us more about yourself.
Hey, my name's Brian Bashline. I work for a company called Node in the tech space. Um, Originally out of college, went directly into medical sales. Started off doing medical testing sales. Going into doctors' offices, doing the lunches and all that good stuff. Um, Moved back home. Um, did that out in Pittsburgh. Moved back home to the Philadelphia area. Started doing some surgical instrument sales. Um, so it was fun, while it lasted. Going into the office was, not really my thing. As COVID kind of came around, there was a lot of remote
Mm-hmm.
work and, a lot of the life that I kind of wanted to get back. So, left that role and looked for something, remotely. So now I work for a company called Node, a marketplace for chemicals and ingredients. Company's amazing. Been here a little over a year now. Doing SDR work, calling everybody possible and getting them on the platform. And yeah, just recently got promoted to kind of help with our distribution team, kind of gearing up for the account executive role here in a couple months.
Awesome. Appreciate that breakdown. And now everyone knows what your background is and your perspective as you give this advice. But what we really want to know is, what is your confession?
um, so the majority of people in the SDR role, I want to say, are between the ages of right out of college, 21 to maybe early 30s, right?
Yep. Yep.
So everybody's got their mind on the end of the week, getting ready for the weekend. So one Friday, I live with my roommate for I've known him for about 20 years. Really good friends. His job is done at Friday at 12 noon. So he'll go to the gym. He'll come back, and most of the time I work out in the living room.
Mhm.
So we're big Eagles fans around here. Live in Philadelphia. Go Birds. But yeah, so he basically said, came back, opened the door from the gym while I'm on a call with a prospect, and started screaming, "Go Birds!" When's happy hour? Basically just said like, "Hey, let's get drunk. Like it's time to go." Uh, so my face is kind of, they can't see it because it's over the phone, but my face just like turned bright red, and I'm like, I don't really know how to handle this. So I'm gonna try
Yeah, the prospect probably loved that.
I'm trying to have a professional call here, and you hear something like that going on in the background. So obviously my next move to the prospect is like, well, apparently it's time for happy hour, so I gotta go.
Oh
So
man, so that's a wild scenario across the board, because it's like, yo man, like, why are you killing my vibe? That's not what you want. So I guess let's talk about it. What have you learned from this situation? What do you do differently now?
um I mean, first and foremost, I work in my bedroom now. So whenever my door's closed, that doesn't happen. But honestly, it started out as something I was kind of embarrassed at, but in reality, I think people are starting to realize that a lot of people work from home. There's going to be, kids in the background, or dogs barking, or friends talking, that type of thing. So I think the more we humanize some of these calls, I think
Mhm.
the better they go. Take an embarrassing moment and kind of swing it to something that you can use as relatable to your prospect. Hey, you going to happy hour after this? What's on the agenda for tonight, kind of thing, and kind of create a more casual flow of conversation, which is, I think, helps a lot on some of the calls that we're making.
Yeah, so you gave an example. Could you give some other examples on how do you humanize yourself on these calls, or just in the sales process?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I like to do is I'll pick something that happens to me in the, whether it's the beginning of the week, whatnot, and use that same opener for, the next week or two, because I'm not calling the same Um, hopefully not calling and talking to the same person over and
Right.
over and over, without booking this meeting. But, my air conditioning breaks, right? Hey, what's going on? And they ask, most of the time they're going to say, how are you? What's going on? What's up?
Mhm.
I'll just say, well, other than waking up in an Arctic tundra today because my heater's broken, my day's going good. And, some, or, and then I'll use that for like a week or two. People get it because these types of situations have happened to them. um, also use the my roommate got a new dog, puppy, corgi, and I have it barking in the background. So for, I want to say, like 2 or 3 months, I used, hey, I apologize in advance if you hear a little dog barking in the background. I'm learning to raise a new puppy. If you have any or if you have any advice. So again, just humanizing that opener to where it doesn't sound robotic in sales, and it doesn't sound salesy. It sounds more of like a casual conversation between two friends, or that sort of thing. So I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, no, that it does help a lot. And my recommendation on the advice that is given here is that make sure that is it innately something that you would say. I find that a lot of people, when they think of humanizing themselves, they aim to be funny when they are not funny. So so just that's something also to be mindful of. If you're not that funny, just be yourself and don't be awkward about it. That's just like really important. Now, you adding the humanization piece to it. I think that's absolutely important. But you also said that you had your friend say, "Oh yeah, let's get drunk and things of that nature." What have you learned since then? Are you working in different places now? Are you telling he's no longer in the apartment when you work? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah. So I mean, I my door is closed. I work in my room. You know, I think he kind of learned not to shout from the rooftops when he comes back. Yeah, I do the same thing. I go to the gym every day for during my lunch hour. So I'll come back, not notice he's on a call, and I've done the same thing to him by accident.
Yeah.
So I think it's a kind of a trial and error process of kind of what works for you, what doesn't. Guess setting ground rules
Yeah.
with whoever you're living with. Maybe put a sign on your door that says "Do not disturb" or whatever. But um, yeah, not too big of an issue of, it happened once or twice, we'll fix it.
And then you mentioned something around door closed, being respectful. You're going to the gym. You mentioned you being active like this. I think this is really important to pay attention to, because it sounds like you have a routine and you like to stick to that routine. So, could you tell us a little bit more about that routine that you have, and how are you setting up your guidelines with roommates as well? Because I think that's really important to also unpack, because there's a lot of people listening in that probably have roommates and they also want to get some advice here on how to do that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think for our job, um, it's very important to get yourself in a routine. I have specific call blocks that I do in the morning and afternoon where I know, hey, this is my time where I'm gonna make some dials and reach out to specific people at certain times. I think those are really important because it helps you kind of organize your day, make sure you get done what you need to get done, and you're not kind of focused only in one aspect. Um, I think the organization of your day is probably the most important part of success. Once you get down what you need to get down, once you learn the product, once you understand, the people that you're targeting, um, the accounts that are best suited for you. I think those are the types of things, organizing your day, planning things out, going to the gym every day to take a break. So you're not just go, go, go.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and then again, setting those specific guidelines like, hey, maybe don't scream when you come back, or, keep
Yeah,
the,
don't
keep
do
the,
that.
keep the music down, or, if you're going to have the dog bark, make sure I keep my door open so someone hears it and I can use it on the call. um, because I mean, dog barking in the background, someone's like, "Oh, you have a dog," and again, it starts bringing that humanization into it. But yeah, keeping in a routine, um, you know, setting call blocks, making sure you have time to, put people in, email sequences, and doing all that. Scheduling your day is I think super super important.
It is. I always tell people an organized schedule leads to organized results. A sporadic schedule leads to sporadic results. So you're absolutely spot on. And it allows for not only yourself to do the actions you need to, but it allows for other people to know what you're getting yourself into as well. So they know how to maybe navigate around your schedule, how to appropriate around your schedule. I think all those things are massively critical. So you mentioned that a puppy, you have a dog as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's a 2-year-old corgi. He's he's a piece of work. He likes to bark at virtually any noise that's not someone's voice. I mean, we're talking a drawer open that creaks or a blender. He hates the vacuum. um, and I live in Philadelphia. There's a lot of police cars and fire trucks that go by, all hours of the day. And he likes to howl like a wolf at the moon every time those come by.
This is all crazy. This is so crazy.
I don't have a sound recording. I wish I had one for you, but it goes on for a good couple minutes until they go by. So it's he makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, I mean, when it talks about time management being diligent, you have to do that. I mean, you have roommates yelling that they're getting drunk. You have the dog barking at everything. Like it's a lot of time management you have to do there.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the I guess one of the crutches of not living alone. So
I want to go back to something tactically for some people. So you have your time management. You're setting up your criteria on when you go to the gym and things of that nature. I think that's absolutely important. But you have these things that are coming in, right? The dog and things of that nature, like you said. The roommate coming in. You've talked about how you've handled that and how you've even turned that around to be funny. So my question is, you probably are continuously A/B testing what is funny, different intros, being intuitive. How often are you testing this? Are you doing like 50 funny intros a day, or you're like Fridays or when I'm really funny? Like, how are you testing like what innately works for you, and what would you recommend to people listening in?
well, I hope I'm funny every day, or else
Yeah,
excuse me.
true.
Um, yeah, no, I don't have any specific rhyme or reason with what goes on. I think it really helps to use something that happens to you. I wouldn't say like make anything up or do anything like that, but um, I don't necessarily do any A/B testing with specific things that I'm opening with, but definitely different types of openers. You
Mm,
know, you want to make sure that you're not sounding robotic to as an opener, right? So listening to some of your calls and seeing how the prospects reacting and how they're, what I know you're familiar with Josh Braun, what he calls the
mm.
zone of resistance.
Yep.
Um, so kind of seeing that go down in those specific calls, and you can hear different tonalities and voices of how you're talking. It may depend on specific things like what time you're calling in the day. Some people are a little bit more receptive at specific times, because 10 to 2, very very busy part of the day. Usually towards the end of the day, maybe they're a little bit more adept to hearing something funny. So I think there's a lot of things that play into it, but yeah, I do use different examples, but not necessarily like A/B test. Like, hey, this works really well. I'm going to use this
Right.
specifically every single time. I like to switch it up because the job can be very repetitive. So you
Mhm.
want to, you know, make it fun for you, as well as make sure you're doing good work.
Have you noticed the difference when you started to focus on making it fun, or have you always been doing that?
I can't remember a time that I haven't been doing it. Um,
Okay.
I like to like I said before, I'm a big humanizing the cold call because let's be
Mhm.
honest, nobody likes to get a cold call. Um,
No.
so
Even the people who make
even
cold
just
calls.
yeah, yeah, opening up with, hey, I know there's never a good time for a cold call, but like, can I have a minute or two of your time? Or, hey, this is one of those pesky cold calls, can I grab a minute to tell you why? I called you specifically, things like that, you know,
Mm.
lower that zone of resistance and say, yeah, hey, you're already acknowledging, everybody hates cold calls. Nobody likes to be sold to. So I think those are really important, and I've pretty much always done something similar to that. Maybe not the same thing all the time, like I said,
Yep.
because I like to switch it up, but changing it up, I think is keeps it fun for you, and still works.
No, that makes complete sense. So we broke down a lot of different factors here on how to handle your roommate if they get too crazy, and how to navigate the conversation, how to manage your time appropriately, how to also like add a little bit of comedy or A/B testing. I think that's important as well. So as we wrap up here, the last question is: what advice would you give to all the SDRs out there?
I would say find what works for you, and stick with that. There's a lot of
Mm,
different ways to do the SDR job. There's someone that can, bang out hundreds and hundreds of cold calls, and that works for them. I'm more of a quality over quantity type of guy, where
yep.
I like to send personalized emails and do my research, whether that be LinkedIn or looking on the company website, going through different channels. So I would say don't necessarily always focus on the activity, focus on the results that you're getting. Reach out to people through different channels, whether that's WhatsApp or LinkedIn or any other type of platform. So, find what works for you, create a system around that works. Um, and then, like I said, keep that routine going. And as long as the results are coming in, um, you keep that routine, the results will show for themselves.
I love that. And when you, I want to actually follow questions to that so that we could like clarify this as we wrap up here. You talk about finding what works for you, but we also talked about trying out new things. So do you have a percentage of, hey, here's what you should be doing because it works, and a percentage of try out new things as well?
I don't know if I have any specific advice on,
Yeah.
hey, here's what works. A lot of things in email, dropping competitor names, using specific things that you see on LinkedIn, hitting people through multiple channels. I would say multi-channeled approach is definitely worked a lot for me. So, someone's not answering your emails or your calls. Maybe if they're, you have a Europe account, grab,
Mm,
there's a lot of, data collection going on. Grab their WhatsApp number and send them a message. Connect with them on LinkedIn, post a couple times, reach out to them, after you've given them, something concrete that you say, hey, I actually know a little bit about this industry.
mhm.
Posting regularly on LinkedIn will help with things like that. So I would just say at least make sure you're not hitting just emails or just calls. Try to hit them from every point, just like your customer wants to shop at different stores. We all digest information differently, so hit as many places as you can where that they're at.
Absolutely love that. So as we wrap up here, any shout outs that you want to give to anyone before we wrap up?
The team at Node. I feel like
Okay.
it
Something
wouldn't
to,
be it wouldn't be fair for me not to call out my company. We're an awesome company, basically growing a massive chemical and ingredient marketplace. The team I work for is awesome. We keep each other, going day in and day out. It's a tough job that we do,
mm,
and having people to fight the battle with you and keep you going, I think is super important. So I guess just
yeah.
shout out to everybody at the company.
Biggest thing that like I miss about the SDR role is just being in the trenches with other people fighting the same battle. There's no other feeling like it. There's no way to describe it. So I absolutely know what you're talking about. Well, Brian, thank you so much for sharing across the board. You probably need to either maybe gotta go drink your friend maybe, or your dog's probably barking somewhere. So we'll get you out of here. But thanks so much for coming on the SDR Confessions, and we'll see you all on the next one.